time for the Property Podcast, where every week tens of thousands of property investors, new and experienced, join together to get news, knowledge and laughs at our expense. With me, Rob Bence.
And me, Rob Dix. Join us every Thursday morning for your weekly dose of property ideas and motivation. Then head over to our website at thepropertypodcast.com to keep the conversation going. Now though, let's get started.
Hello and welcome to the Property Podcast. It is episode 67. I'm Rob B. With me, as always, is Rob D. How are you today, Rob?
I'm very well, thank you. Always very well. It's my favourite time of the week recording the podcast. And this is going to be another great one, I think. We're going to be talking about things we've learned from the Property Hub. Loads of great stuff in there. We've also, of course, got a resource of the week and a news story as well. It's going to be a packed 25 minutes or so.
It is. But before we get going, let's do a few quick reviews because we really do appreciate them. So let's go straight into them. SMS says, great insights into all things property. As a newbie coming into property investment, this podcast has been an invaluable resource. Each episode provides clear and concise commentary on a myriad of aspects, including creating long-term wealth from property. Keep up the good work. Rich from Liverpool says, fantastic. I've been a listener for the last couple of months, but only recently has a week in the sun allowed me to catch up on all the previous episodes. While the missus wasn't all that enthusiastic about listening to me talk about inflation and net yields, it didn't stop me listening to the entire back catalogue. A great podcast, easy to listen to, and I always look forward to the resource of the week. Keep up the good work, gents. Your efforts are very much appreciated and your drive is inspiring. And finally, Avi the Expat says, informative, entertaining and topical. Rob and Rob produce excellent podcasts. The format is spot on, the delivery is professional and entertaining, and the chemistry is the icing on the cake. Having now listened to every episode from every corner of the planet, my other job, I finally got the motivation to do something, and today have completed on my first property investment with the second already in the solicitor's hands. Please keep on producing this level both here and Property News Radio and the Property Geek podcast. And please do a show on covering systems and software. Wishing you and all your listeners great success, Avi. Brilliant. Love that, Avi. Congratulations on your first and hopefully second investment. And that's a great idea for an episode, Rob.
It really is. I can't believe we haven't done that already. Consider that noted. And congratulations also to the previous reviewer who's managed to stay married despite talking about net yields and inflation and so on his holiday. That's quite some achievement.
If you think that's bad, Rich, imagine our poor wife.
It's true, yeah. They get this all the time. You only have it half an hour a week. Well, it's absolutely brilliant to get the reviews. If you haven't left us a review yet, please do. You'll get a shout out on the podcast, as every single person does. You just have to go to the show notes and you'll find a link over to iTunes. We've even got a little video for you that shows you exactly how to do it if you can't figure it out. So the show notes for this week are at thepropertyhub.net/hub lessons. Get over there and you'll find out how to leave a review. So, Rob, this week we're ready to put a date to something that we've been working on for a very long time. Tell us a little bit more. Okay,
so Yellow Lettings, you've heard a lot about it. We officially announced it in episode 50. So we're now in episode 67, so we're 17 weeks further down the line. God, Rob, it's considering we were working on it for a long time before that announcement, I shudder to think how long we've actually sunk into this. But anyway, it's a big project. Of course, you know, what we're trying to do here is very ambitious. But finally, we can say our official launch date is August the 7th. So mark that down in your calendars. We'll do a special episode on August the 7th, but that's our launch date. Now, if you're interested in what Yellow Lettings can do for you and your property, whether if you've got property already or you're about to get hold of some property, then go to yellowlettings.net and fill out your details there, and we'll contact you before the launch, and you can be amongst the first people who can take advantage of our new service.
Yep, hundreds of people have done already, but so far we've just been testing with a small number of properties. We've been getting our systems in place. We brought on our first member of staff. We've been getting everything ready to working out how our vision is going to match up to the reality. And August the 7th is going to be the first date that we're going to start taking on properties beyond the small number that we've handpicked. So before that, do get over to yellowlettings.net and pop in your details. If nothing else, you'll get a call from Rob B. What could be better than that?
And thank you to the people who've endured Yellow Lettings as we've been testing things out. We've obviously made mistakes, and that's why we've not done a full launch. So thank you to everybody who put their faith in Yellow Lettings for the test period. We truly appreciate it. It's allowed us now to get our systems in place to offer a brilliant service when we launch officially. So, news this week. Rob, I think we should have started a portal instead of the podcast because the guy who started up Zoopla has done quite well.
Yeah, well, that's where the real money is, isn't it? So Zoopla has floated on the stock exchange this week, and it's been valued at, what's that? 919 million. I was wondering if I was missing a decimal point there, but I'm not. 919 million. Rightmove.
Nearly $1 billion. Wow.
Yeah, and Rightmove is bigger, isn't it? I mean, Rightmove floated a while back. I don't know how much that's worth, but I'm sure it's more. So combined, that is absolutely huge. I know this isn't going to be a popular story with a lot of estate agents because they're, I know there's a lot of ill feeling about the fees that Rightmove and Zoopla charge, and I think a lot of agents feel like they're over a barrel with it, and when you see them valued at that much, it's probably just going to rub a little bit more salt in that wound. But you can't argue that they've done really well, and as an end user, it's fantastic. How the model works for agents, I don't know. But whether this is the end of it, whether we're stuck with these two, whether they'll merge at some point, there's also something called Agents Mutual coming along soon, I think, which is an effort by a core group of agents to try and unseat these two. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens, but at the moment, it's an absolute beast.
It is. And the guy who founded it had an 8% stake, and that 8% stake's worth 73 million, and he sold 3.5% of that, making him 32 million. So it's not done too bad. It's not a bad startup.
Not bad at all. So, yeah, we should have thought of that one a few years ago, but never mind. Well done to them. We'll link to the full story over in the show notes for this episode, which are at thepropertyhub.net/hub lessons. And that is the URL for this week because that's what we're talking about. We're going to be sharing 8 things that we've learned from the Property Hub so far. And the reason that we're doing this is not just as an excuse to bang on about the Property Hub. It's because it is now officially 6 months old. We started it back on January the 9th, so it's a little bit over 6 months old now. And it's just passed 1,000 members, which is absolutely amazing. The fact that it's come so far so quickly and it's become such a valuable resource already is a such testament to all our listeners and everyone who's got involved and put so much into making it such an amazing thing. And from this process of conceptualizing the whole thing and building it up and being in there every single day, we've learned a lot. We've learned a lot about specific aspects of property, and we've learned a lot about the business of building a network and having that support network in property and how that works, what it means and everything else. So we're going to be going through some of our insights right now. Rob, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, let's go. Okay, so the first lesson, we already knew this, but it's enforced it, so it's great to have this reinforced, is that there are lots of good places to invest. Because we've got so many hub members, way over 1,000 now, in all different areas, people are talking about their areas and how they're getting on and why they like to invest in those areas. So there's plenty of areas with good, solid fundamentals, the things that we talk about all the time. The shops, the schools, the transport links, etc. Those fundamentals are not just in London. There are plenty of the good places where people are doing very well and being very successful with their own buy-to-let portfolios. So it's really interesting to see that, yes, we talk about it, that you should consider many areas, not just one, don't focus on just your local area. But when you look at the hub, you can see people, discussing that and talking about their areas and then talking about going into new areas. So it's been great to see that. We talk about it, but what we can see now is that actually taking place. So it's more interactive. So it's really, really good. So have a look for yourself. Go into the hub and see all these different areas people are talking about and why they like them. I don't agree with all of them, but that's the great thing about property. There's so many different opinions. Not all areas you'll agree with too, but have a look and see why people think their area is a good area to invest and why other areas they go to invest, they rate highly too.
Yep. Absolutely. So much going on there. People making things work in areas I frankly had barely heard of. I couldn't put a pin in a map. There's so much being talked about in there and absolutely fascinating. Okay, so here's the next one. Being exposed to people who are doing what you want to do makes you realise that it's possible and makes it possible to take action. So we heard in one of the reviews earlier from someone who'd bought their first property since listening to the Property Podcast, and we've heard that a lot and we absolutely love it. And it's the same with the Property Hub. We've got people in there who, since they became members of the Hub, have bought their first property and actually got involved and taken it from a dream of theirs or an aspiration and made it a reality. Now, that's not saying that we're doing anything special here. Because it's nothing that we're doing. It's just the fact that by listening to the podcast, people have spent a little bit of time every week being exposed to people talking about the reality of doing what it is that they want to do. And that's made it seem real and it's made it seem possible. You can take the same principle if you want to branch out as well. And this is something that I think the hub and having a network is great for. Because say you've been doing a normal buy-to-let for a little while and you want to branch out into HMOs, and that's something that scares you. It might be something that scares you because the numbers are bigger, because there's all this regulation around it. There's all these things that you don't quite understand. But by being exposed to people who are doing it and just kind of listening in on the conversations of people who are talking about the realities of it, it makes it seem like it's something that you can achieve. You can be like, well, if they do it, I can do it. And I could always ask a question to those people if there's something that I fall down on. So not even necessarily being a massive contributor, but just having that exposure to what it is that you want to do is a really important aspect to turning it into a reality. Because if it's just you on your own thinking that this sounds like a good idea and no one else in your life is quite going with you on it, it can be a lot harder. So that's the absolutely brilliant thing about having this network.
I've got to say, Rob, I love it when people say they've done their first investment when they've listened to the podcast or the hub. I mean, that's better than any 5-star review. And I take my hat off to every person who goes ahead and does their first investment, because you're a doer. And so many people aren't. So many people will talk about doing something and, yeah, maybe tomorrow, or, yeah, I've got this idea. If you've done it, congratulations, because so many people don't. You know, you're the person that'll do well in life more often than not, because you're the type of person to take action. So congratulations. Next, the collective is better than the individual. Many people know a lot about property, and many individuals know a lot about property. But as a group, the Property Hub is transforming into an oasis of knowledge. An oasis of knowledge, like that, Rob. There's lots of experts in there, not just us. You know, Rob and I are, you know, we post, but really most of our posts are, you know, just conversational. The real value is coming from other people, because we do the podcast. That's where we like to add our value. But there's lots of other people there just delivering brilliant information on a regular basis. To name a few, and I apologise if we don't mention you all, but Rob, we've got Andy Norman, we've got Damien Fogg, we've got Tim Ragg, we've got Kylie Ackers, we've got Richard Brown and Graham Clark. I know there's more, you know, but those people, you know, instantly we thought of straight away of people who are just delivering value on a constant basis.
Yeah, and what I love about it is everyone is an expert in something, and there are topics that come up where I'm just like, what? I have no idea. And then someone will pop up, and someone who I've never necessarily heard of before will turn up and give an absolutely great answer. So there's always something that everyone can contribute. You've just mentioned some of the people who we're lucky enough to have in there really regularly contributing on a whole range of things. And it's just absolutely fantastic. We're very grateful for that. Okay, so even though there's the hub, and that's a really great online network, there is still a special magic to meeting in person. So we do our occasional official meetups, but then people have also been arranging their own little meetups, or they've just been kind of pairing off and arranging to meet individually with people who they've got something in common with. And from what we've heard back from that, people have found those really, really valuable. Even though you can type back and forth to people, just meeting with them face to face is a whole other level of building that relationship, which is going to inspire you, and it's going to be someone who you can turn to for knowledge and all that kind of thing. If you haven't been along to one of our meetups yet, I definitely suggest that you make it along to the next one when we announce it. And in the meantime, see if you can meet someone face to face. Most people are just more than willing to meet up and talk about property. Most people are in the position where it's not like all their mates are into it. Often they're sort of doing it all day and they'd love to talk about this kind of thing, but a lot of people won't listen to them do it anymore. And so meeting face to face is always welcome, and it's always a good idea. But also, short of meeting in person, also just getting regularly onto Skype with a group of people is really valuable as well. So in the Property Hub Plus, we've got 3 mastermind groups running now. And I was chatting to someone about what was going on in their mastermind the other day, and they're talking about all the really valuable stuff that's come out of it. And all they do is, I think it's 5 or 6 of them, they get on Skype every other week. They keep in touch by email in the meantime, and they're all finding it really beneficial. So whether you do it in person or whether you do it ideally face-to-face, having those individual connections really takes it to the next level, as well as just having this kind of group of people who you know online.
Absolutely. You know, that's definitely one of the biggest things that's come out of the hub, is the way people are learning from each other and, you know, connecting with each other. It's been great to see that sort of progress. Talking of progression, progress journals. are awesome. And Rob, you can take full credit for this because this was your idea when we started up the hub. In the Property Hub Plus, there are progress journals where people are just detailing their progress in great detail. It's fantastic. It's super, super entertaining. It's really interesting to see the highs and the lows of property investment. When people complete, how happy they are, and then when issues come up. Because, property is not all unicorn and rainbows. Things do go wrong. Don't get me wrong, things go wrong and you can always sort them. But it's still interesting to see how people are then going to sort them. The progress journals are very intimate, very grateful to the people who are contributing to those progress journals because we're all learning from them and we're all entertained by them too. They're just a great, great resource in the Property Hub Plus. So progress journals, I didn't really think too much of them before. Not that I wasn't a fan, it's just that it's something that's never really occurred to me. But Rob, hats off. That's it. It's been a great idea, and I think it's one of the best things in the Property Hub Plus. Yeah,
and I think there's something in it for everyone. So if you just reading them is fantastic and seeing what other people are up to. Like Damien Fogg, we mentioned earlier, he'll just update his journal and be like, oh yes, I just bought this, flipped that, refurbed that, the other. And it's like, oh, I haven't done anything in the last week. And so that's really inspirational on that level. But also actually doing the journal, it's such a great chance to get feedback from people as well. So you can post like something that you're thinking about or an issue you're having, and it means people can jump in and give you ideas. And it might be something that you hadn't thought to mention as a post in its own right, but people get to see it in that context. And if you are a member of the Property Hub Plus and you haven't started a journal yet, consider this a call to action. Make it happen. And that links into the next point, really, which is that you get out what you put in. And this is something that we've always known to be true, but we've just seen it in action even more since doing the Property Hub. Because you can soak up so much good information just by lurking around that it's tempting just to do that. You could easily just spend 10-15 minutes in there every day and learn a huge amount about property. And that feels like it's enough. But the best opportunities go to the people who are regularly contributing and are well known in the community. So much stuff has come out of this. And again, this is nothing that we've done. It's just emerged from having people coming together. So people have got jobs through the Property Hub. Partnerships have formed and people have got really valuable information. Like members have contacted other members, and as a result of that, they've been taken on tours of the area where they invest and get to see the houses that they've invested in and see how they run their businesses. That is the kind of thing which you can't put a price on, and people have got it for free just by contributing, just by being there and being known. That's where the real opportunities are. We talk about building a network all the time, and it's really important. The Property Hub is a really easy way of starting to build that network, but don't stop there. The further you go with it, the greater the rewards are. So keep putting in that effort. Whether you do it on the Property Hub or whether you do it somewhere else, it doesn't matter. But you've just got to put in that effort, and that's when you'll get the real rewards.
You will, absolutely. It sounds like common sense, because it is, but so many people don't implement common sense. You get out what you put in. Another one that, would seem obvious, but it's not always applied, but it's something that we're really passionate about. It's nice to be nice. We've covered this, particularly in the business episodes, that you don't have to be ruthless and cutthroat to get on. And we found that it's been replicated in the forum, which was something that was really, really important to us. We wanted the Property Hub to be a friendly place. And it fortunately, it has turned out that way. The respect between each members is brilliant. There's no in-house fighting. Everyone's trying to help each other. And so far, we've had to do very, very little sort of mediation. We've just let the Property Hub get on with itself. We work in the background and our team works in the background to keep it running and make sure you get all your email updates and told what's going on. But other than that, the Property Hub, the ethos that we wanted to bring there is really organically grown. And it shows that, so many other forums, and not just property, but, go on Mumsnet, there's fighting there all the time. But so many other forums, there's egos, there's people fighting and they've got to prove their point over one another. You can be nice in a forum, so it's proven in business, it's proven in a forum. You can be respectful of other people's opinions and you can get masses of value from it too. It's nice to be nice, simple, but true. And it's glad to see it's been replicated in the hub.
Definitely. And we did a whole episode on that back in episode 55 with Peter Shankman, who in one of our business episodes, the propertyhub.net/Shankman was that episode. And he really talks about the business benefits of being nice. And yeah, it's absolutely brilliant to see that we've got that in the hub as well. And finally, I guess this really just sums up the others, but there's no excuse not to build your network because it's so easy. Building a network is really not a difficult thing to do. And we said this before. We did an episode way back near the start of the Property Podcast about networking. And we said how people have got this idea about networking that it's either really painful or it's really difficult or it's disingenuous somehow. You have to go and stand in front of people and pitch to them, or they're trying to sell things to you, and it just feels really icky. But it's not like that at all. Real networking is just getting to know people, and it is so easy now, whether you use the Property Hub or whether you use something else, it's so easy to get in contact with people and have those relationships. And in the Hub, there are people who are building their reputation and finding work and finding opportunities just by sharing what they know and being helpful. And they don't have to know everything. They don't even have to know a lot. They just have to share what they do know. And there are people in there, there are carpenters and solicitors and brokers all just contributing what they know. And as a result, they're building their reputation and they're getting business through it as well. So it is so easy to build a network. There is really no excuse. It's not something that you've got to take a whole evening or a whole weekend out of your life and travel somewhere and put a name badge on and everything else. It's so easy that you should really make it part of your daily routine to reach out to people and nurture the relationships you've already got, because that's probably one of the most valuable things you can do in property or in any other aspect of business.
It is, and that brings our lessons to an end. Thank you to everyone who's joined the Hub so far. You know, it's 6 months old and it's grown so quickly. I can only see it going from strength to strength, and that's not because of us, because, you know, as I say, well, I can't speak for you, Rob, but me, I'm not in there that regularly as I'd like to be, because we're doing all our other projects. But all the people in there are making it a fantastic place to be. We're really, really proud of how it's grown so far, and we can't wait to see what it does in the future. So if you're not using it already, why not? It's a resource there that you can take advantage of for free. You know, the vast majority of the content's free in there. If you want to join the Plus, fantastic. You know, we'll open again in the future. But for now, there's plenty of free stuff in there that you can take advantage of. So go to thepropertyhub.net if you haven't already. Get yourself a free profile and start to mingle.
Yep, first thing to do, introduce yourself. There's a special introductions forum. Just go in there and type out a few lines about who you are, what you do, what you want to be doing. That's a really easy way to get to kickstart and get into the habit of contributing rather than just lurking. So definitely create an account, go in and post an introduction. Or if you've already got an account but haven't introduced yourself yet, make sure you do that this week.
Super. Okay, so this week's resource of the week, Rob, I was a little bit worried when you first mentioned it. You said it's a photo rating website, and then you said it was called Photo Feeler, and then I got really worried, and then you explained actually what it really was.
It doesn't look good, does it? It sounds even worse when I've seen it. If you remember a site called Hot or Not, this has been described, I saw it as Hot or Not for professionals. So make of that what you will. But yeah, photofeeler.com. Here is the bit that should make it sound more useful and less weird. The idea is that in places like the Property Hub and on LinkedIn and lots of other places online, you end up with a little photo next to your name that represents you. And this photo is the people's first impression of you. And like it or not, people are going to judge you by that photo. So the idea with Photo Feeler is you can upload the photo that you use on sites like that, or a selection of photos that you're thinking about using, and people can rate you across a few different dimensions. So you get a whole group of people saying what they think of the photo, and then it gets averaged out, and so you can choose which photo to use, or whether you need to change the one that you're currently using. And the dimensions are whether it makes you look competent, likable, and influential. So it can tell you what you do on those three measures. So if it's really important to you to come across as an influential person, you can make sure you find a photo that maximizes that. So hopefully, Rob, I've now convinced you that this isn't just some kind of weird thing. There's actually a value to it.
Okay, so you posted your photo.
I did.
You did. Do you want to reveal your stats?
I don't know if I do. Okay. Okay, so let's start with the good news. Likeable, 69%.
Well done.
Pretty happy with that.
That's pretty good.
Gets less good. Competent, 28%. So maybe I need to change my photo. Maybe that's accurate. Don't tell me. Influential, 10%. So
I want to know how you look influential, though. Have you got to be pointing when you take your photo? How do you look influential? I'm going to post my photo. I've got to see how mine come out. That's brilliant. So influential 10%. At least you look friendly.
yeah, I mean, it's probably wrong, but I'd rather appear likable than influential. But yeah, but if I was on LinkedIn and I was trying to raise a ton of money for something, maybe I should change my photo and maybe a photo of me standing on a stage pointing at a slideshow or something. I don't know how you look influential. I don't have a clue. It's really good fun and it could be useful as well. And so if you use it, tell us how you get on. Tell us if you managed to look more influential than I did. And Rob will maybe share his in there as well. So the topic for this week's episode is at thepropertyhub.net/hub lessons.
Right. I'll do it. I'll post it up today and I'll let you know how we get on next week. You've been brave enough to do it, so I suppose I have to. Okay. Remember, everybody, this week's all been about the Property Hub. If you haven't got yourself over there yet, why not? It's free. Go to thepropertyhub.net, get your free account, and go and introduce yourself. So that's thepropertyhub.net. And next week, Rob, we've got a real value bomb of an episode. And we have to thank one of our listeners, and we'll play his recording next week. But he asked a question about this subject, and we thought, you know what? Why have we not done an episode on this yet? So next week, we're going to be looking at LHA tenants. Deal or no deal? Is it a good idea to let to LHA tenants? Is it a good idea to target properties that will attract LHA tenants? Or is it just a big, big hassle? We'll talk about the pros and the cons. So, I mean, that's going to be a really good episode. I hope you can join us next week for that one.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was a show on last week on Channel 4, I think it was, called Britain's Benefits Tenants or something like that. If you'd watched that, you'd come out with a very strong view in one direction about the subject, but we're going to try and inject a little bit of balance and a bit of fact into the whole thing.
Yeah, we'll try our best. Right. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for listening this week. Thank you to every single member of the Property Hub. It's been a brilliant first 6 months. We hope you're enjoying it. Hope you're enjoying all the things that are in there. But until next week, that's us done. Thanks a lot and bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to the Property Podcast. Make sure you join our mailing list at thepropertypodcast.com.
And remember, we love 5-star reviews. Rob even loves them more than air miles.